What's going on there, everyone? Rather interesting article. Is actually from yesterday, but I just happened upon it, and it's not really interesting to me for what it does say. It's interesting for what it's not saying. Let's get into it. Andrew Yang: Decline of journalism a tragedy for American democracy. What's a tragedy is most of the media has become propaganda arms for whoever. Washington entrepreneur Andrew Yang, a Democratic presidential candidate, referred to job loss in the journalism field as a tragedy in America and proposed investing public resources to help support the news business. That's already a bad idea, Mr. Yang. First off, do you remember when the American people had to bail out the big giant banks? How outraged the people were over that? Yeah, this is the same type of thing. Let's let these media companies and whatnot screw up, start failing, and we have to bail them out? No, thank you. Let them fail. Let companies that cannot succeed go away. Simple as that. Past studies have shown journalism to be among the worst career choices based on average annual income. It's not about the income, it's about getting truthful information out to people. It's a service more than it is whatever. You know, to be a real good journalist, you have to just want to get the word out to people. If you're trying to make millions, then you're not going to be a good journalist. Sorry, you're just not, because you're going to be motivated by money, and money corrupts. Now you have all these measurements attached to any piece of journalism that you produce that did not exist generations ago. It's like, how did that piece perform? How many clicks did it get? And the natural incentives are for you to become a little more aggressive and a little bit more sensationalist with the headline or the angle, Yang said during newsmaker events at the National Press Club on Monday. And that's just the way the industry is unfolding, because the almighty market is pulling all the strings. So if you want to change that in communities, you have to actually put some resources to work, he added. Yeah, but the companies themselves should be doing this, not us taxpayers. Why? You know, that's... All right, just as an example, say MSNBC, which is very much a conspiracy-based news organization. They put out more false news than anything else, it seems, nowadays. And they don't even barely hold themselves to account when they're called out on their false news. They just act okay and then go about their business. Why should I, someone who virulently hates MSNBC, why should I have to bail them out when they're failing because they're bad at what they do? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, I'm fully against it. It reminds me, it harkens back to the abortion thing. Why is abortion federally mandated that we pay taxes to supplement abortion clinics and stuff? No, I don't think that should be allowed either, because, you know, there's a good portion of people that don't believe in abortion and whatnot, but yet our tax money goes to helping perform that act. I don't understand how that's allowed either. It doesn't make sense. Yang noted that he is personally familiar with the struggles of working journalists and aspiring journalists, so he is passionate about addressing the challenges facing the industry. You all do great work. Ha! That's a BS statement right there. Just that one sentence is crap. We need to make it so you can do your jobs without fearing getting fired the next day because your stuff didn't get enough traffic, Yang said. What? No, you shouldn't. I mean, if you're a good journalist who's reporting truthful news, then it'll get plenty of traffic. You know, if you're honest, fair, and balanced, and you know, you don't have like a media bias type deal, or partisan bias, your stuff will get read a lot more. If you're just strictly, you know, anti this, anti that, I don't like this, and you constantly put that in your work, well, your work, your views and stuff will suffer. It's just how things work. I don't think it needs to be publicly financed because you do bad work and you don't get all the clicks and stuff, you know? And the media kind of did this to themselves. They really have. But we'll get into that a little later. If you... Oh, yeah. Yang said society should find a way to support local journalism, even if the free market isn't supporting its existence. The free market does support journalistic... yeah, they do support that. It's just a lot of these companies are bad at what they do, so they start to suffer. Mainly left-wing organizations, may I say. I think that's why he's so concerned, to be honest. Because right now, a lot of right-wing news and commentators and all that stuff, alternative media also, is booming, doing really well. Seems to be the left of everything that's suffering. Why? Because they're very manipulative, and they happen to fabricate a lot of things. How many news stories just this year? I don't even have to go back to... You really don't. Just this year, there's been so many instances of left-wing media having to retract stories or having to edit them because, oops, we made a mistake. We clearly lied about this and we got caught. Come on, man. If you believe in democracy, you have to believe in journalism, particularly at the local level. Over 1,200 local newspapers have gone out of business in the last number of years, and we all know why. I don't think they do know why. They used to have classified ads and revenue from those ads. Now those ads went to the cloud and Craigslist, and they didn't have a new source of revenue to replace it, he said. All right, so what I just saw was that these local companies are not moving with the times. You know, they're trying to stay in print and all this stuff, which are becoming archaic forms of getting information to people. That's not our fault. You know, that's not the people of the country's fault. That's the company's fault for having a bad business model. You know, times are changing. Things are becoming steadily more digital. And these companies aren't moving with the times. Instead of transitioning to become a more digital outlet, they try to stick with print and all that. And people just aren't into that because generally print is old news. It's stuff you've already heard of because it's generally a day late. That's not our fault. We shouldn't have to supplement them because they don't know how to move with technology and whatnot. I don't get it. Studies have shown if you lose your local paper, voting becomes more polarized because you don't know what's going on in your town anymore. And so you just vote along party lines, and you have lower levels of government accountability as a result, he added. I disagree with that. People who want to be informed will be informed. Simple as that. People who want to know what's going on are going to take it upon themselves to research and figure out what's actually going on. Yeah, that's what happens. Doesn't make sense. Like I said, local newspapers and stuff, they're always late. Yang continued, so that is why I propose a local journalism fund that would help create cooperative ownership business models and in some cases partner with philanthropy to help create sustainable models of journalism and communities around the country. The government doesn't need to be involved in this. I mean, it's actually a scary thing he's trying to put out there. You know, because if you get the government involved by funding news companies, do you not see the danger there? It can easily become an actual straight up propaganda arm of the government. Because the government can always say, hey, we help fund you, even though they don't help fund anything. We, the people, fund everything. Don't ever forget that, people. We fund everything. The government funds nothing. Government doesn't have any money. It's our money. A lot of people seem to forget that when they're talking about everything. But it's just ridiculous, man. This is ridiculous. It's like he's refusing to understand that these companies make their own mistakes and that the people shouldn't have to bail them out for failing. It's their fault. They're failing. It's not us. I mean, they're going to twist it and say, oh, there's less people reading, there's less people watching, this, that, and the other. That's not our fault that they're pumping out such sensationalist nonsense and being so hyperbolic about everything they write that we just don't care and we don't want to listen to that no more. You know, a lot of Americans are striving for normalcy because we've lost it. You know, whatever happened to just waking up and having a good day? A lot of people can't do that nowadays because they turn on the news and the news scares them or purposely tries to scare them into thinking everything's catastrophically wrong. And it's just not the case. It's really not. Yang also said the problem right now is if you are a newspaper, it's not enough for you to break even. You have to make enough money to keep your shareholders happy, and in some cases, those shareholders are private equity firms and hedge funders that bought your paper and then bought your paper and then consolidated them. Well, maybe that's a bad business model. Maybe that's something they should also change. Why is he completely neglecting accountability, self-accountability for these companies? You see, he's doing that. I don't get it. I just don't understand. According to Yang's campaign website, the $1 billion fund would operate out of the FCC and make grants to companies, nonprofits, and local governments and libraries to help local newspapers, periodicals, and websites transition to sustainability in a new era. It's that or, quote, it's that or let local journalism die, which I don't think anyone is in favor of, Yang said on Monday. Local journalism isn't going to die. You will see a lot of companies that do not transition on their own because, you know, they should do that, self-accountability. And there's going to be plenty of local places. Sure, some of the smaller ones will fold if they don't move forward with the times. That makes sense. You know, that happens with every industry of any type. It's not just journalism. It's every industry. If you stay stagnated towards an older way and everyone else is moving forward, well, you're going to be left behind. It's as simple as that. I don't even know what he's saying and why he's saying this. It doesn't make sense. But I do notice he didn't mention this situation, which just happened in the extraordinarily Democratic state of California. California passes bill limiting freelance writers to 35 submissions per year, spelling uncertainty for writers and media outlets, and, you know, journalists themselves. Yeah, lawmakers in California recently passed Assembly Bill 5, a piece of legislation which aims to classify workers engaged in the gig economy as employees. But a key piece of this new legislation would limit freelance writers, including writers for entertainment and media websites, in California to a mere 35 content submissions per year. I'm not going to get too far into that. I'll link it for if y'all want to read into it more. You can go ahead and do that. But he didn't mention that at all. He didn't mention how the Democrats in California just screwed over so many freelance journalists. Why isn't that mentioned? They literally just took away these journalists' way of life. They can't work now. 35 submissions? That's a week worth of work for a regular freelancer. 1 week. And that's all he's allowed to do? What are these Democrats and these leftists, where are their minds at? What are they thinking? And how do they think any of it makes sense? Because it truly doesn't. It truly doesn't. I just don't understand. I really honestly don't. I think what we're seeing with the decline in journalism is a decline of unhonest journalism. That's what we're seeing. It's companies that are constantly screwing up, either promoting fake news or whatever. Companies that constantly have to retract statements and revise them and put corrections. Those are the people we're seeing fail. People that are pushing identity politics and all that nonsense. All these super progressive left-wing ideas. Those are the places we're seeing fail. Why? It's because the people in general as a whole don't want to hear that crap. That's nonsensical BS to most people. It doesn't affect them in their daily lives, so they don't care. So they don't tune in. That's just how it is. That's just how it is. These companies either need to get with the times, get with what's actually going on, and what people are actually worried about, and stop focusing on all the nonsense all the time. All these conspiracy theories, this, that, and the other. You know, people are sick of it. And the companies are failing because of it. Should we bail them out? Absolutely not. Let them go away. Let them go away, because something better might show up where they were. Love to hear your comments on this, and as always, like, share, and subscribe. I will catch y'all on the flip side.